So there's like a funny incongruency with what I talk about, and I don't know, putting it here seems important to me at the moment, because I have been asked about it a bunch of times. So I tell people to read Fabris. I actually don't tell people that they really should read Tybalt. The people who should read Tybalt are the people who are drawn to it by their own reasons. But if you're not drawn to it as this behemoth work that might eat away at your soul, I don't want to really make people do that or even suggest people do it. Most people should just read fucking Fabris. Now, a question that I got on my last video was, do they get in the way of each other doing two styles? And that's fair. I'm in a really weird environment where the fences around me really want to win. There's a few of them that just being fucking great at fencing on their own accord is so important to them. And it's such a powerful thing because you can watch people, and this will sound wrong, but this willingness to throw any preconceived notions, anything in their head of what is right or wrong, out the window to just accomplish the goal. That's really cool. I do that in comps. I want to win the damn thing. And even if it's a good thought, even if it's a pure thought or a lawful thought or a thing that like, oh, no, yeah, you valuing that is more important than winning. No. Then it's in the way. Then it's in the way. So I don't let any of my reading, I've read a lot of fencing books. Oh my god, a lot. And doing a preconceived idea of what I think it should be, and then fitting the book to it, then fitting what the book says to the fencing I want to do, seems really counterintuitive under critical thought. So I don't do the style. Oh, my style. No, I do fencing. Now I do fencing like it says to do in Tybalt because I want that to be real and beautiful. I want it to work. I want people to win and feel beautiful and feel like they can do the magic out of it. But there is light restrictions when doing it. And there's light misunderstandings and light malinterpretations that I'm still trying to figure out, because I can't go to anyone at the moment and go, hey, I think it's this. Is that right or wrong? And have them go, oh yes, because I've been doing Tybalt for 10 years and I've been winning and mauling monsters, I can show you what is right or wrong most of the way, and then you can stand on my shoulders and go from there. The closest I've got is Woody Craig, and he is a Fabris fencer. And he cares about Fabris so deeply, and he cares about doing what that book says, because to his core, there is an unending belief that this is all he requires, this is all he needs, and he will fucking move the planet to show it. And he will work so fucking intensely on how he's applying it to make that real. And that's what I'm doing with Tybalt. They don't get in the way of each other. Fabris's work, I think, was published only a little bit earlier, maybe only 10 years, something like that. Maybe 10 years in quotation marks. Like, I think it was the difference between the 1620s and the 1630s. So, fuck, that could be 1 year. I can't remember the last digit. And Tybalt talks about countering generic Salvatore Fabris trained fences. And Fabris talks about Destreza ever so slightly. And he goes, yes, fencing is in geometry and circles, but don't lose your mind in it because you'll get distracted. I think this is very important. It's obvious that Tybalt has an innate understanding of Italian fencing, an innate understanding of German fencing, and all the other fencing that was occurring at the time. I don't think this is kind of like Hutton, where he has hot takes that are unfounded or only founded in niche cases. I think these are coming from a place of experience and understanding. That's really cool. It's cool to me anyway. Tybalt's fencing at the moment still, to me, has aspects of restriction. And I dislike that. And it annoys me. And it's because I haven't got the tools that he's utilizing fine-tuned enough that it feels like that's all I need at the moment. That frustrates and annoys me. There is this ideal in a lot of fencing books, even in just people's ideas of martial arts, that this is all you need to do to win. Oversimplification to sell a dream. It's fantasy, and they sell that dream, and they want you to buy in. Tybalt and Fabris, the only dream they're selling is that you need to be good, and you need to get good. And you need to train, and you need to know so much, and you need to work so much that it's parallel to me, that they both just want you to be the best you can at the thing you apparently care about. When I do my Italian fencing, I just say Italian fencing because I've read a bunch of other books in Italian fencing, but most of the time I'm doing Fabris shapes and Fabris ideas, and that's where it stems from. It's the most free I feel in my fencing, that I'm free to do whatever is valid. It doesn't mean I'm doing clown fucking cuts from outside a lager at people's ankles and hoping for the dream. There's still these restrictions of like, what will put me in a dumb fucking place? What will make my fencing go to shit? Ooh. What will make my day harder? oh, well, if it wins, like, man, like, the only reason parrying like a clown and then cutting back in like a clown works is because no one's around you is abusing you for it. That's not free form. That's not freedom. That's just, aren't you just so fucking lucky? God, I wish that was me. I'm jealous. Fuck. Reading Fabris and working from Fabris isn't a style. It's not a system. It's a handful of rules that you find the same rules are being adhered to in other texts with different names. And sometimes it's less concise. In Tibble, occasionally there's more concise. Or, I think concise is not the right word, more elaborated upon it. There's actual data on it, opposed to like off statements. Or like, yeah, this is all you kind of need to know, work with it, you'll figure it out. Which maybe I'm just not smart enough for. It's one of the few texts that I've read that's not a style. That it's not telling you the bare minimum to just win. Here's your 8 neat tricks, go fucking get them, soldier. Or go get them, son. God, I have a lot of alarms on at all times. So I can keep track of time. So I don't find them getting in the way of each other. Because one is just fencing principles that you will find in every book, but I don't see it written that well in other books. These rules that you can't disprove. As long as you fence those rules, you'll end up looking like the plates in Fabris. As long as you want everything to work, as long as you want to succeed, you end up looking like the plates in Fabris. That's really cool to me. It's really magical. I don't see things in Fabris as like, I would say the same thing if I had restricted targets. Or if my blade was shorter. Or if I had no quillions. Or if I was using a foil. Or if I was using a 39-inch blade. Or if I was using a 36 or a 32. I only see things as like, that makes sense for using a rapier that is optimized for fucking winning. I don't see things as like, yes, I would tell my students to fucking do that if right of way was important. Duh. I would tell my students to do that if there was a severe lockout. I would tell my students to do that if leg cuts fucking did 3 times the amount of points, and I would tell my students to do that if they were worth 1/3 of a point. I'm referencing all various types of SAL and training rules there. When I read Fabris, it's, that's what I'd want to do if I wanted to win in almost any rule set. And that's really cool to me. It's really special. That's what I would say to do, and then modify on top of that to fit whatever rules comfortably. That's what I would want it to do. That's what I would believe is correct to do very easily. Not because he's sold it to me, but because you look at it and you're like, oh, that seems hard, but yeah, that would be the answer, right? He talks about false distressor, and I say false distressor because a bunch of the Diestro books sell you a dream, and the dream is the lack of effort and only using your brain and just positioning perfectly to win with the least amount of extremes. Fuck, when I see people just farming fucking medals with that and looking like it, then I know something's going good, right? He talks about that distressor shit. The bad distressor. The baby distressor. The underdeveloped distressor. And he goes something along the lines of, if you end up in a sword fight and you don't do literally everything you can to not die and to win, or to win and then not die, or however you need to mix those words, that they're of both the same importance and they both must be accomplished, because only doing one is as good as doing neither. If you don't do everything that you possibly can, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? That's just a waste. Why did you bother training? If you don't learn everything you can, why did you train at all? If you don't do every posture and every movement and train every part of your body to facilitate and develop and grow and play with these dials, why the fuck did you do it at all? Grow up. And I take that into my tip-up fencing, that I want to be real and beautiful. It doesn't get in the way. Now, anything that gets in your way is in your way, whether you think it's right or wrong. Morality is irrelevant for this. Doing it purely for the restriction of the art, or to do it purely for that style, I think spits in the face of the person that wrote it. But teacher, I only do what you say. Student, I only taught you so that you would do well. I never told you to not do well. I never told you to not be great. There's a couple of people in the world who'll probably giggle at that. So if your styles, if your training, if your ideas are getting in the way of each other and not helping and not growing and developing at all and encompassing it and letting you become what you should become, it's in your fucking way. I don't find reading Fabris and Thibault in the way of each other. But I'm still at this moment where if I only want to truly win, and I even let go of wanting to get my tip-up fencing to be real and beautiful, I just do Italian fencing. And it annoys me. The reason for that is that I have more freedom and buffer room for mistakes. I have more freedom of movement. I have more freedom of dials to change, like foot position, foot width at different times, body weighting with different widths of like feet between each other, the squarer positions, how I place my feet. Everything gets a bit more free. Also my torso angle, my head angle, my blade placement. At the moment, it's harder to make mistakes because it's easier to not get caught out for mistakes. I'm not running such a tightrope that I can slip off anywhere near as much. It's like a rope bridge that you can fuck up, but the footing's fairly firm. Where when I'm doing my tip-out fencing, it feels like I'm on a tightrope of one slight maladjustment, one slight mistake, and I fuck the whole thing. And that tightrope run, that sprint on a fucking razor's edge, is exhausting and difficult, and I still need to develop that further. I'm still nowhere near where I want that to be. Fucking mauling people and still nowhere near where I want it to be because it's not done at all. I'm not done with that at all. Fabris, I'm not done with at all. Just getting the raw comfort to take the fucking tempos of someone doing a slight adjustment while at lager, and because I'm actually ready to go, not in a shit position that I need to clunk out of the position to lunge, making it too tempo before I've even got my fucking foot off the floor. But I'm actually ready to suddenly take a tempo from such a grand distance and hit someone for just switching off for a moment. Like, oh, we're at lager and you switched off, boom. Oh, we're at lager and you did just a wiggle, boom. Oh, we're at lager and you go to use like either a slow or a firm or a brisk little fucking week on week beat, boom. You gave me my win condition. That's kind of easier because there's less to track and less plates to spin compared to my tip-out fencing. And if I miss it, I get to keep fencing. But it's only now that I'm like seeing those moments as like, oh, yeah, I'll just win from the distance that you're not even fucking accepting as actually fencing. That's fine. It's hard and scary. But that seems to be easier to find in Fabris, where I'm still struggling to piece that together for tip-out. I'm on my fifth or fourth year of Fabris. I'm on my third year of tip-out. Brucius talks about people reading Fabris or tip-out, and he's like, oh yeah, no one wants to be like the days of old. I think this was 1670s, so like 50 years later, 40 years later. It's quite funny that they're not training hard enough, and they don't want to learn and develop like the old masters, like Salvatore Fabris and Gerard Thibault. It's very funny. And he goes, I don't do Tybalt fencing because that takes 10 years of your fucking life. I think Fabris is a little easier, and I'm only writing this book because everyone thinks they should write a book. So, here's my version of Fabris. He doesn't cover the same points. He's just got a bunch of drills. I think it's like 152 drills or something. That, like, you do the drill and you're like, oh, I see what you're trying to show me. That's cool. Every drill is to show you something that you go, oh, is this what it was trying to teach me? That's very funny. And you just do that for every drill. I love that. I think that's fucking precious. Hard to, like, just read and find data points to steal for your fencing. But to grab a drill out of it and go like, yeah, let's do fucking some Bruchius. And I was like, oh, fuck me. Why wasn't I doing this whole time? And then you reread a chunk of fabric. I'm like, I don't know why I wasn't doing this the whole time. So, long ramble. None of your fencing should get in the way of your fencing. If something's in your way, it's in your way. What is your goal? What are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to embarrass the person who wrote the damn book? So none of your books should get in the way of each other. None of your training should get in the way of each other. What you're doing shouldn't get in the way of itself, and you shouldn't be in the way of yourself. There's this one fucking interaction with Tybalt that I'm just so pissed off that I remember it, but I'm still struggling to commit it into my true fencing. Makes me annoyed. He starts talking about how the right angle only defends from the nipple line up, and the second you are starting to get truly threatened from the nipple line and down, you need to be hip hinging forwards. And then most of his book involves not threatening from the nipple line and down. So you train, if you do every drill in the book, you kind of forget that he tells you to do that. If you keep wanting to make it look like the book fucking wholesale, and then you're fencing people who have only really learnt like fucking saber and longsword and shit, and they've got low stances and they're popping and they're doing generic or HEMA, and you're not hip hinging from halfway through first instance onwards, you're actually not doing Tybalt. And that gives me the fucking shits profusely, because I keep fucking that up too. But fuck, you read Fabris, and like, he's just doing it the whole time anyway, because like, why not just like, oh no, you were slightly less efficient in your energy conservation. Oh no, you still won. Like, fuck it. Throw all the fireworks in the air, throw all the rockets in the sky. When you hit the thing you want to hit, sick. Don't be like fucking extraneously like wasteful to the point of self-detriment. But also don't be so conservative your fucking calories from lunchtime that you're not going to fucking put the effort in. Yeah. Hopefully that kind of explains why I have no qualms saying people should train with other people. And you should have multiple teachers, and you should read many texts, and you should encompass fencing, and to keep it pure to one text is a disservice to the person who wrote the damn book. One last little anecdotal story before I stop. I did Muay Thai for a long time, and I care about it deeply. Like every fucking rough Australian. I love it as a sport, and I cherish it, and I think it's beautiful. It means a lot to me. I haven't done it in a long time, but I still follow it and care about it. There's a joke story lesson. If you do funny spinning shit in Muay Thai and get hurt, the trainer is likely to whack you with a newspaper or with their hand over the back of the head and say, "That's not Muay Thai. Don't do that." If you do spinny, wild, fucking insane shit and knock the other guy out, your trainer will say, "Yes, very good Muay Thai." Winning is Muay Thai. Following that, Customato, who was Mike Tyson's trainer before he died, every fight Mike Tyson did in the amateurs, and then as he was becoming pro, whether he won or lost, would berate the living fuck out of him. With things of, "Why did you put your hands down at this spot? He could have knocked you the fuck out. You're just lucky they didn't." Or, "Why'd you let that bum go more than fucking 2 rounds? Yes, you knocked him out in the 3rd. You should have had him in the 1st. What the fuck's wrong with you?" And he was incredibly brutal about it. Because the thing he didn't want to see was the mistakes that he wasn't getting punished for, getting him punished later. Being freeform and free is not permission to do the wrong thing, but it is permission to do everything that helps you, which means you don't do the wrong things. No good teacher doesn't want you to win. And no good teacher wants to see you do the wrong things. These books were written by teachers. Let them teach you. Let them teach you. Let them make you better. And you fucking better help them do it.